Good morning, franchise people. Welcome to another episode of Coffee and Analytics. I'm your host, Nick Powles, CEO and publisher of 1851, and now a plethora of other businesses, which I'm going to talk about this month. I kicked off this month's note, if you read it, if you care to read it. Even if you didn't care to read it, I'm still going to give you all the details of what I talked about in there in today's discussion. But I kicked it off saying when the quarter kicks off or ends or starts or begins, whatever you want to say, we go through a rush of trying to make things happen. And so we pushed through on several things last quarter, all of which I'm going to share with you, all of which are designed to help you win at franchising, either growing your franchise or impacting your franchise. And so first things first, I want to thank everybody that came to FranCamp this year. It was our first year that we've done the event. It was in Chicago. It's on the screen. I think it was an awesome event. The feedback has been great. Lots of things to continue to improve upon. But ultimately what we did is we did a mastermind in person where we broke groups into about 10 folks and allowed everybody to have a voice versus listening to some speaker or watching some PowerPoint. Doesn't mean those types of events can't be successful. It was more so I wanted to create an event that I would actually want to go to. No offense to other events that are driven by PowerPoints and speakers. I like to have active participation. And I think about what people have said, the most valuable things from, say, an IFA convention or any conference that they've gone to has been the roundtables. And so we try to build a format around the roundtable, make the roundtable the hero, and let our brands get good takeaways beyond it. We also set a very important principle for our clients that we don't charge them to attend because we need to be in the business of delighting our clients. And if we can give things like this, then we impact our clients in a positive way. And we made universal pricing, and we said suppliers put down the name supplier, hyper focus in on being an entrepreneur or business leader because you're going to have voice to contribute as well. And so that was a big part of what we put together was just an event that was a little bit different. I call it a disruptor event. And now, as we hit next year, we'll have 3 dates that are going to be announced that we're going to do a winter camp, a summer camp, and a fall camp so that we can spread this out and hopefully impact more franchisors. So that's coming down the line. But thank you for everybody that attended it. I thought it was awesome. And again, for everybody that gave us feedback, appreciate it. It was a lot of work to get up here. We're going to continue to fine tune it and hopefully give something that will have tremendous value back to everybody that wants to gain more or have some sort of voice or be able to talk with their peers to try to figure out this game of franchising, which we all know is super, super, super hard. So let's try to give you more tools to win. Next thing that I want to talk about is Growth Club, just so that you can see the update here. You can go to 1851growthclub.com. This has also been a long time coming, and you're starting to see the trend of our Rhino, who's now having a personality of his own or their own. Not sure what the pronoun of our Rhino is yet. I'll make that decision as we continue on. But what we're doing with Growth Club, let me paint the picture here. In the art of still trying to be disruptive and the art of trying to do things better, not us, just industry in general. We're building this business around transparency. So to franchisors, we've released 3 options. Option 1 is we'll help you qualify your leads so that we can basically tee them up for you. So we're an extension of your team. We've been doing this in beta test for the last year and a half. And we fine-tuned the way that we talk with candidates. What I felt one of the gaps that we could actually fit or fix is that from a conversation standpoint, at conversation 1, I keep on putting this disclaimer on here, no offense, but I think qualifiers tend to be a little bit younger and less experienced in franchising. And so the questions revolve more around market and financial bandwidth. And I've super dialed into this on our podcast, that if I go back to day prior to you jumping into franchising and say, did you understand what franchising was or is? The answer is like, no, I had no idea. And so now I am thinking about the buyer, and before the buyer goes and fills out these forms. But if you said to the franchisee candidate, do you understand what franchising is? The answer is always no. And so I'm thinking about this in the sales process. And I've seen this as we've talked with franchisees. And I've talked a lot about this on Coffee and Analytics. We talk about, did you have a clear understanding of franchising? They said no, yet no franchisor is saying, well, wait a second, before we talk to you about our offering, let's educate you on what franchising is. What are you going to go through? What does the schedule look like? How are you going to evaluate an FDD? How do you go get help? How are you going to get financing? So all these things that are complex to the franchise buyer, nobody's saying, let's take a step backwards and educate them. So in our qualification process, we're trying to fine tune this a bit so that we're giving the structure back to the buyer so that hopefully the buyer can have a little bit more depth when it comes to making the decision of buying a franchise. So you can see this in the way that we're positioning this. And again, you guys can all go through this site, but a transparent, honest, inclusive approach to franchise growth for franchisees, franchisors, and franchise brokers. On the brokerage side, I'll flip over there. Oh, actually, let me finish out the franchisor side. We're doing fractional qualifications. We're doing fractional marketing or franchise sales support, and then we're doing full boat franchise sales. I'm going to say this statement. I know somebody that's watching this was a part of this meeting, but we worked with a pizza brand. Pizza brand said, "Look, we have a $400,000 budget," and we said, "Great, what's winning?" They said 10 franchises, which is aggressive. Like, that's a good budget per deal, $40,000 per deal. And so we go into this meeting and we're like, "Oh man, what a great run! We got them 11." And the question back was, "Well, why didn't you get us 12?" And that moment really struck me because I was like, well, we defined what winning was. We exceeded what winning was. We built up a pipeline. And really, truth be told, at that point in my career, I didn't understand the candidate funnel or journey the way that I do today, that it does take 6 months to convert to a lead. So I didn't really think about building up the funnel. So, far beyond the 11 that we got through, there was a funnel built for that next year, but it was like, I felt so deflated. I was like, I guess you just can't win in franchising. Like, franchise development folks, you're only as good as your last deal. And it drove me into this place where I was like, this just sucks. Like, let's try to, if we're going to define what winning is and we hit what winning is, even in a micro sense, whether that's a quarter winning, it's a year winning, it's 2-year winning, then if we win, let's celebrate it. And it wasn't in that place. So at that point in the history of our business, I said, we're not going to go into franchise development. It just doesn't make sense for us because reputation is very important to us. And if we continue to fail in the eyes of whoever we're working with, it will never be something that we can recover from. And so that moment in time caused me to put pause in, which is why we didn't create a business that solved franchise sales solutions. Over that next run of 10 years or so, from that beyond this moment to today, the broker community, I'm gonna first say the good of it, and then I'm gonna say what I think the bad is. The good is that you have all of these folks, all these franchise brokers and consultants who do a tremendous job of educating the buyer of what franchising is, which I said that's the gap by the franchisor. Franchisor goes immediately to, well, can I sell you a franchise? And the brokers or the consultants are saying, well, let's educate you on what franchising is. At this point, this is where my challenge is. And I've said this before on podcasts or discussions, that if you think about a real estate agent, if I call a real estate agent, I say, look, I'm interested in working with you. And they're with Coldwell Banker. And they say, okay, well, how much money do you have to invest in a home? And I say, I got $1 million to invest in a home. They go, great. So you want to buy $1 million house? I say, yes. They don't just come and serve me up only Coldwell Banker $1 million homes. They go to the MLS and they pull all of the homes that would hit that category. And then they start breaking out. Are you interested in modern? Are you interested in this? At the end of the day, what they do is they drive me into a home that is going to hit my passions, my wants, maybe I'm using the term forever home, but it might not be a Coldwell Banker home, because in real estate, no matter what, that agent's going to get paid as the buyer agent or the seller's agent, no matter where they come from. In franchise brokerage, we haven't got to that level yet, that if it's a universal agreement that this is how it works, that every single brand is on, that is available, is on the equivalent of an MLS. Now, it doesn't matter if I have them in my inventory or not, I'm going to lead the candidate there. So principle one, when we started building this out, was that the example that I've used is, let's say candidate X reaches out to us and says, look, I get that you have other brands. I've always wanted to own a Papa John's. And we look through and we're like, well, we don't represent Papa John's. Hard principle, hard line in the sand is we're going to call Papa John's. We're going to say, we have a candidate for you. Papa John's is going to say, well, why are you giving me this candidate? What do you want for this candidate? And we're going to say nothing. The idea is that then later on, if we continue to do right by the buyers and right by the franchisors, of course, we're going to hopefully get the marketing business, and we're going to be able to help them through 1851 or whatever else that we're providing from a solution standpoint. So we're trying to start there, like, let's just do good. Now, the luxury that we have there in that scenario is we've built up a successful business model on mainland in 1851 that we're able to cash flow and drive this. So we don't need to rely on those commissions to pay our bills. And so that's an advantage that we have. And frankly, even though we're kind of behind the curve, there's some great FSOs that have been launched. There's some great, tremendous franchise brokers who do an awesome job. We're trying to squeeze in the middle here and hopefully have impact back to franchising. And the last thing I'll say on Growth Club before I go over into our new technology, it was very important to us that we looked at all these folks that were asking 1851, hey, do you help people find franchise? And we're like, no, but here are some brands that you can look at. And we would just send them back to brands that are within the 1851 infrastructure. Like, well, maybe we can do some coaching on top of that. So it's been a long time coming. We've put a lot of work into it. So many mistakes on coming to this point, but now I'm super excited about where we're going, that we can help people buy a franchise, we can help a franchise or grow the franchise, or we can help the franchise broker market their business. We're hyper focusing on helping them market their business so that they can position themselves as a thought expert. I lied. Last thing I'll say on the broker side is I don't think brokers do a great job at celebrating their success. At the end of the day, they've coached someone into business operations or business ownership. And I would argue that buying a franchise is the hardest thing in the world to go through when it comes to career or business investment. And so they should be applauded. And very, very rarely you could go to these franchise broker sites. They're not celebrating the fact that they have helped someone get into business. And we're going to try to help them tell those stories. So that's Growth Club. Just want to share that because, again, that this month's Coffee and Analytics is giving you guys an update on what's going on with us. Now, welcome to Hello by Mainland. This is the name of our technology. Our dashboard is going not just across 1851, but now we're building up some significant lift in the home services side on Estate Envy. And we're starting to inch into hospitality, which we're going to use Room 1903 for restaurants and for hotels. Anything that has to do with hospitality is going to go into that category. Stash Cow is the last one that we've launched, which is personal wealth and finance. That one is a little bit slower. That's more an incubation stage. But what we did is we said, let's take a step backwards and re-up our technology. And I will say, much like construction of a property, we had expectations of when this thing was going to launch. It continued to need some more fine tuning. And really the vision was, let's get a baseline foundation done so that when we want to start adding enhancements, it's a lot better to do. So we had to go back over technical statement. We had to go back and redo the code so that the coding could align with what our missions are. So it took a lot longer to get to the stage, but if you've logged into your 1851 dashboard, you can see what we've done. Within the note, if you've read the note, you can see some of the things that I highlight, but I'm going to give you a quick tour of this just so that you can see what we put together. So very simplistic, but we added how-to videos on each section so that you can, if you want to use the tool, it's very self-explanatory, and you can actually learn how to use every part of Hello by Mainland. This obviously is within the 1851 dashboard. So let's start with writing a story. Changed it all up so it's very easy to walk on through here and upload content, and is it sponsored or not? Who's your author? We revamped the way that you can put content within here, preview story, and all this other stuff. So very, very simplistic approach, but we needed to clean up the design and make it very user-friendly. Story brainstorm, we added this on here because oftentimes our clients have ideas and then they forget about it when it comes to the call that we do with them from a strategic standpoint. So we added here so that you can just add in ideas and then it holds them down below. So all your ideas are held. And then Amped, we've cleaned this up a bit so that Amped works in a much cleaner way. So you can say, I want to do business development, and you can put your franchise development websites. You could say, I want to promote my brand page, or you can promote an article. So for instance, here on Paris Baguette's page, I can select an article, I can type it in, it will come find it, and it's all placed in here. We even have the dates, so that's very easy to find it. You can set your budget, you can pick your flight dates, you can let us write the copy, you can write your own. You can very easily select the platform that you want it to go on or both. So we made that very easy from an ordering standpoint. You have all your target audience, what's your markets, and then any additional targeting notes. And then we made it so that you can confirm your orders. Again, the idea here is we want our clients using this dashboard actively to win. A few things at the top, which you can see they're all in here. You can dive through here. You can get all your monthly reports. They're all organized here after the month concludes, so you can just come in here and download it. But let's do site data first. So site analytics. And what we're trying to do here, if any of you have used the new Google Analytics, you can see it's a little bit more complex. Part of the reason it's complex is because it's the unknown. We haven't used it before, but we were like, how can we extract some of the good of Google and put it to work? I will say the next tool that we're launching in here it's going to be a crossover tool that allows you to see your FranDev analytics and your 1851 analytics. So you can see what does the roadmap actually look like? What's the behavior within the two sites? But here's where we stand today. Total readers, self-explanatory. Average readers per day. This is what I tend to call the pipeline. So we have about 434 readers that are coming on a daily basis. That's what I call the pipeline that we're working with. And in franchising, we always talk about leads. Leads doesn't mean our pipeline. We're really talking about applications, like who are our qualified buyers and where are they at in that funnel. So a whole bunch of data here. We'll get into AMP data in a second. We have all of our stories that are down here. And then we have just some bells and whistles here that you can easily share it onto your social networks. If you want, you can download a PDF or you can amplify the story, which we'll get to in a second. So we're going to take this insight that how innovations at Paris Baguette have set it apart in the bakery segment. That's the story that we're going to want to amplify. But let's go ahead and get a little bit more data. And we can see the heat map is pretty good in Florida. Maybe that's where we're going to want to do an AMPed campaign. We can see that Florida, even though we can see that there's activity there, it is not one of our top states. We have to go down. There was down a bit, and we can see that, okay, the data is good. We have good people there, but let's go ahead and amplify that. We're going to hold on to that. And then what we did here at the bottom, you can see all the demographics, so you can start figuring out what is the age range of what you want to go after. But now we start building up this algorithm that starts reading what's your number of readers, average readers per day, and duration, so that it's classifying what are your most productive markets. Oftentimes, when we're thinking about PR or content or digital, we get on a strategy call with our client and we say, hey, what's your target market? Sometimes they're very specific and sometimes they say, I don't know. And so what we wanted to do is start using our tool to start building some predictability, saying, hey, do you have room in Las Vegas? Yes. Do you have leads in Las Vegas? No. all right, well, we got some people that are paying attention there. Maybe we need to amplify the buzz in that market so we can use that insight and put it to use to try to push someone over the edge. Okay, so now going back to that story, because let's say we want to amplify in Florida. Again, we made it very easy that we know that innovations are helping them set apart in the market. And so you just click amped, and now it takes this article, populates it in here, and now we're going to place an order. It could be $500, it could be $1,000, it could be $1 million. Whatever we want to do, we start building out our campaign here, and we've taken an insight and we've put it to work. Other thing we've done is we've increased the depth of the AMP data. It's pulled in real time from Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn. So you can see all of your data that's running, and you can go through each of these. You can look at your keywords, cost per read, and you can get down into the specific tools now and say, okay, how many active campaigns do I have? What's my budget? Where am I spending? So lots of bells and whistles here. And then we have this PDF thing that will automatically build out a report so that you always have a CEO report that you're able to use. Some of this is table stakes. Some of this you guys have seen before. We've just amplified the depth of these tools. Now comes one of my new favorite ones. And this is just rolling out. The second level of this has just rolled out yesterday, where we can look at comparables. So now we can look at what are brands spending on 1851 versus what am I spending? And then you can look at audience comparison so that you can get a sense of benchmarking, where am I at? So first we did this against all 1851 brands, and now we've done it in a few different categories. Now investment range is, all this data is being plugged in the background. So some of this isn't dialed in yet, but I can say food and beverage. I can pick my category, so I can see how are the behaviors of other brands behaving within AMPT or within 1851, so that at least I can see benchmarks and understand, like, okay, well, I'm not spending as much on Facebook as other brands. My spend is down 22%. Well, therefore, maybe I want to think about rebudgeting, or you can look at some of the trends that are coming out of here. What this is going to allow us to do is we can pull this up on our regular calls and say, let's look at the data to try to give you guys more insight into the management of this. A few other things, resources, we have how-to videos, white papers, video resources, just a whole bunch that starts fitting into this. Newsroom management, we have totally revamped the widget so that you have a whole bunch of different versions that you can pick from. We did this so that you're not confined to one tool when it comes to sending content to your site. So you can just scroll over and pick it. And then all you got to do is add widget. You get the code. You give your code to your developer. I'll put it in there. Editorial calendar. We started pulling greater data, like how many total stories have been published so that we can have benchmarks against this. What does our total audience look like? Like Pierre Spaghetti has almost driven 1 million visitors into their page. They're currently ranked #1 in Power Rankings. So it gives you a sense of how are we performing. The brand info page, we made this very important a long time ago, that it's all drag and drop so that we don't need a developer to come in place. Nothing changed there. We just amplified the depth of the tool. Then we organized all of the things into a very simplistic way. Research content. This is the content that on the top of your brand page gives the reader very easy content to be able to pull from. And so this is very easy to just add in whatever you want in here. Inquiry database, we continue to fine tune this as a backup of any leads that come into your system. All this other stuff is there, even support. It's very easy to find other things. So I'm sharing this with you because this has been a long time coming to get 1851's dashboard into a place that we're proud of it. And now from a data standpoint, again, now we're able to start taking it to a next level with a lot of enhancements that are going to roll out. And then awesome that these will also roll out to all of our other platforms like Estate Envy and Room 1903. For those of you that are using those as consumer-facing tools, it's there as well. Now, the reason I'm going through this quarter isn't just that the fact that we launched it and to show this to you, is also to say all of this data that we've been spending the last few years pulling on candidate journey, on franchisee buying behavior, on what are benchmarks and milestones that we have to hit. All of these things are now equaling into club which is for helping franchisors, franchisees, and franchise brokers. Camp, which creates these mastermind moments so that we can continue to build community, wide open community. Sidebar there. I was super happy we had a direct competitor come into FranCamp, and people said, "Well, you're willing to do that?" And I said, "Yeah, we got to build community. We got to be better than what we are, and I can learn from them, and they can learn from us. And as long as we say the depth of life doesn't mean we have to hate each other just because we compete against each other, which is ridiculous. Or you're not allowed to go to a conference because you're in a category." I said that's going to be one of our key principles, and I was super happy to have her there as well. So part of this is building up the community. That's what Camp is doing, and now Hello by Mainland. Very long time coming to get the dashboard into a place that we're going to go on a mission to be absolutely the best dashboard system that's ever existed in franchising. This was a very important step to get there. So this is where you put those milestones, those rocks up for the quarter that you want to hit. You do everything in your power to make sure that you can hit it, and you go to work doing so. And that's what we've been doing. We've been trying to hustle to these fictional finish lines and trying to figure out a way to continue to impact and delight our clients. I say this all the time. We are not perfect by any means. Getting franchise momentum is very, very challenging. I wish that I had magic tricks or silver bullets that could say, well, magically you can grow your business. I don't. But if I can try to use the tools that I have, be realistic, be transparent, be honest about this, not try to sugarcoat things. My belief is that good things happen to good people. And that's, call it franchise karma. Maybe I should go by that URL. Anyway, that's that. I talked way too much, as always. Appreciate you watching. Hopefully you get value out of some of these things, or even if you didn't get value specifically out of what I was talking about, maybe you're like, ooh, maybe we should do this, and it impacts your business in some other way. I'm Nick Powles for all the platforms. For all of you watching, I appreciate you. This is another episode of Coffee and Analytics. I will see you next month. Thanks for paying attention. Take care, everybody.